Hello all, and welcome to tonight's beer review, which I am dubbing the Sleepy Time beer review because I guess I've hit a major sleep deficit. So when I got off work, I slept from 6:30 straight until about 3:15, and I'm tired right now. It's not even midnight, so yeah, I'm probably gonna have this bomber and then another beer and then hit the hay. So I'm tired. I worked 4 12-hour shifts this week. I don't like that. I really don't like that. So, oh, sorry, that was mic bump there. So, without further ado, I'm going to be reviewing some Ballast Point beers this week. And the first beer, oh, and I got something else to review later, but maybe this week, maybe next week, but I'm going to be happy to do it. Hint is going to be a first risky review in a while. So, but for tonight, I'm going to be reviewing Ballast Point Fathom IPL. Of course, that's an India Pale Lager. Now, Ballast Point was recently bought out. I can't remember what company bought them out. But they're a very popular company. From what I've had, they're excellent beers, though they're overpriced. Even on the mainland, they're overpriced. About $16 for a 6-pack. They're like over $18 for a 6-pack here. This bomber cost $8, which is kind of a lot for a bomber. Let's see here. But, you know, they're high quality stuff. Anyways, this is 7.0 ABV, and again, in India Pale Lager, which is basically, you know, an IPA brewed as a lager would, i.e. with bottom fermenting yeast as opposed to top fermenting yeast, and a cleaner taste to it. There's no brewing date on Ballast Point bottles, unfortunately. So I don't know how fresh this is. The bottle shop has nice employees, but they don't really store their beers right. Okay, so nice, very clear, golden, yellow, orange color, with a slightly off-white head, thick. Still smells fairly fresh. Lots of zingy, fruity notes in there. Also that smell that I've also found in almost every other India Pale Lager that I've had, that almost ozone-like sort of smell to it. Very juicy, definitely more on the juicy than on the piney side. Hints of mint. Underneath that juice is a very strong floral backbone. Not very much resiny or pine needle-y sort of things. Just maybe a slight hint of dankness. Fairly thick mouthfeel. Big burst of juiciness up in the front. Incredibly juicy. You just get this very strong hint of grapefruit. And on the tongue, even from the front and into the finish, there is a sort of pine needle resin. But it finishes fairly clean. There's not much lingering bitterness. Some, but not much. I would say that this would qualify as chewy. Honestly, tastes are very muted. So I'm going to think that this has been on the shelf for a little bit too long. But honestly, even though the tastes are kind of muted, it's very difficult to go and suss out the nuances. I can tell that there's a lot of great nuance there. It's just kind of very quiet right now. You know, it's got this big, whole, bold, hearty mouthfeel, but everything else is just like very tindered down. You know, we got the juiciness from the malts and grapefruit juiciness from the malt hop interplay. Sort of resiny bitterness on the tongue. Very clean finish in regards to the malts on the tongue, as you would expect from a lager style. But yeah, I think this might be maybe a little bit too old. Honestly, still a great beer. It's just not a beer where you're like being constantly wowed at all sides. And really, I would like to try this fresh brewed. It really, you know, as I get more experience in drinking, I can kind of tell when something would be something that would just be mind-blowing fresh brewed, and this seems like one of them. Moral of the story is always store your beers, if possible, in some place that's under 70 degrees, but not refrigerator strength coldness, except for certain types. Lagers, pilsners, those types, well, regular lagers, yeah, definitely keep them cold as hell, but as it warms up a bit, yeah, some of the tastes are kind of bursting out a bit. Very much in the line of tropical fruits, grapefruit, getting a lot of zest now, especially towards the finish. So what's the main difference in between India Pale Lager and India Pale Ale? I definitely would say, for me at least, there's always that sort of weird kind of ozone note to the nose at the beginning. I'm sure to distinguish it. Some ales I've had have had that sort of ozone note, but every single lager, India Pale Lager, has had that ozone note. It's probably something to do with the way the different type of yeast reacts with that heavy hopping, all those oils in the wort, and generally a cleaner finish. So, Ballast Point Fathom. Great beer. This particular bottle gives me a feeling of it being on the shelf for a little bit too long. Would definitely like to try it on draft or someplace where I can guarantee it's been more or less fresh as opposed to sitting on the shelf for a while. And when that time comes, maybe I'll have a good camera, camera phone, and go and review it at a bar side or something. So that's your beer review for tonight, folks. Cheers.